What have we got here? I was asked to keep this confidential by Sabine Hossenfelder.
I want to read you an email that I was asked to keep confidential. I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I now believe that reading it to you will go some way to explain why I'm
Mystic Rose was still kept alive during the event? Yeah, which is a very different thing, yeah.
Worried about the status of scientific research generally, but especially in the foundations of physics. I received this email about 7 years ago after I published a comment in Nature Physics titled "Science Needs Reason to be Trusted." In it, I explained how I lost trust in scientific self-correction after I realized how much of what's published in the foundations of physics is nonsense and continues to be nonsense.
There are some things so unbelievably stupid, only an academic could even possibly hope to understand them. So, my guess is that she's going to talk about the issues in the scientific community, which have been pretty bad because it started with the social sciences and it has spread to the sciences. The mistake is why, but the difference, people ignore out of malice intentionally ignorance. Yeah, which is normal. So, let's see.
This email came from someone who I've met a few times but don't know in any depth, and who at the time worked at a top institution in the United States. To honor the request of confidentiality, I've removed some details. Hi, Sabine. If you remember me. I'm not using my work email. The topic is a bit delicate, and I hope that our conversation will remain confidential. I'm contacting you regarding your recent paper in Nature, which made a lot of noise. First of all, congratulations on a nice paper. If you wanted to attract attention, you managed to do this.
That is such a bitch way of phrasing things. I like her accent. I like it too. She sounds, either maybe German, Dutch, maybe Belgium, maybe. No, Belgian is a bit more French than that. But that is, I can feel a hint of spite in the way that was, if you wanted to attract attention, you managed to do this. So this was either written by a woman or by a very spiteful, weak man. That is a joke. All right. Could search her name. Should tell you. Sabine Karin Doris Hossenfelder, born 18 September 1976, is a German theoretical physicist, author, science communicator, and YouTuber. There you go. I didn't even need to Google it.
Actually, I'd like to ask you next time, think not only about short-term personal benefits, but about the community in general. You understand what consequences your publication might bring for our community?
Oh, that's such a scummy thing. They want a cake? Yeah, wee bit. It happens. It's, no big deal. Holy baby oil, it's not baby oil. Until intellectualism needs some intense crackdowns, it really does, from all sides. Because this isn't a both sides issue, this is a many sides issue. And the problem is that many of these sides have fallen under the principle, have fallen to a trap of the principle. You know the saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he doesn't exist? It's a similar principle to that. A lot of these academics and a lot of these, now in the science communities, have fallen prey to their own hubris. They can't possibly be wrong because they are in the position that they are in. How many people that you know... yes, I did grab it. It's queued up. We're going to watch it after. How many people have you met that they are objectively wrong? That these people are objectively wrong, but they insist they are right, not because they are objectively right, but because they hold a certain position in an institution. I used to work in customer support. One of my very first calls in customer support was a customer who was angry that she set up an order and the order went to the wrong place. Because she had set that place to be, but she insisted she wasn't wrong because she had a PhD. She couldn't possibly have been wrong because she had a PhD. Not because, and our system said that she had put in the wrong address. Like she had put in the wrong order, like she had put in the wrong thing. And the system just showed that there was no input from our end. There was no errors from anywhere. Like this was like manual input. Customer put in this thing. And it went to where the customer asked for. And it turns out that's not where she wanted it to. And she insisted she wasn't wrong because she had a PhD. How many people do you know like that? It's not that I have a PhD, but I'm in the academic institutional position that I am in. Therefore, I can't be wrong. That, I think, the fallacy is the appeal to authority. So if I'm ignorant about something, I don't do this. I just assume what I know, and if I'm wrong, I get corrected and fucking accept that gracefully. Yeah. I'm not as graceful, usually, but, you know, if I don't know something, I'll either ask or look it up, or mainly ask, or just do what is best on the internet. You give the wrong answer so that you get the right one. You don't, like, the best way to get the right answer on the internet is not to ask the right question, is to give the wrong answer. Let's continue.
What are all these BSM model builders with exaggerated self-opinion going to do afterwards? What about experimentalists who survive hiding inside big multi-TV collaborations? Can you offer them all any decent employment alternatives?
So the issue isn't whether or not the paper is right. The issue is whether or not she's protecting the industry.
Some of them have families and young children. Some of them are already too old to get employment elsewhere. For some of them, academia is the only way to get US visa.
So if academia is the only way to get a US visa and you're not competent enough to get a job outside of academia, even though the market in the US is brutal. The job market in the US, damn near impossible to get a job. But if you can't do that outside of academia, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Just because you can't stay in the US, which the US has the biggest markets. The US has the best paying jobs. But if you are somebody at, I don't know, the MIT, and because of this woman's paper, a bunch of your stuff is now useless, and you have to, you know, start your career somewhere else, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a university in the UK or in Canada or in Germany or in Italy or in Spain or in France or somewhere in the EU that might take you in and might give you a job. You might have to upstart, you might have to uproot and start over. Or you can try and get a job in a different industry, or you can try get a job, proper job, because, you know, academia. Since I have some customer support experience, my response to that, with all due respect, ma'am, we have no manual input needed to handle this. Even if I make mistakes using technology, try double checking. Yeah, that's basically what we said. And at the end of the day, she got so pissed that we were like, okay, have a $5 coupon. And that was it. She was actually happy with that. Because we ended up being like, this is what our system says. Like, you did this. What do you want us to do? Like, we're like, contact the other side and tell them to send it back, and that's it. By the way, I like Planck's principle in this context. A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it. Yeah, I would have just hung up. I have my own way of dealing with customers. This was like when I was still in training. After that, I had my own way, because by now you have noticed the voice I have, and I know how to use this voice. And I knew how to use this voice. Like, my favorite customers were the angriest ones, because I know how to drive a conversation. I know how to keep you on topic, and I know what to do. Like, to the point that in my company, I ended up making a guide on how to deal with customers without, like, how to be in customer support, how to deal with any customer-facing job without being soul draining. I have the video actually in the channel somewhere. I think it's a guide on how to speak. I have the video there. So if you want to learn how to do that, I actually made the video, because it's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple concept, fairly simple series of concepts, and it helps. So yeah, I would get the angriest customers, super fucking angry people. Like, we are talking, I haven't even stopped saying hello, and they're already just like, you can barely understand what they're saying. The microphone is clipping. It's horrible. And by the end of the call, I would get them to say thank you from the bottom of their heart. Oh, it was so satisfying. I'm no longer there. I'm now in a different department, but there you go. Anyway, let's continue.
If
Oh,
you
no. Finish addressing the point by Germany. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Some opponents will see the light. The rest will die off and wither away. So you got some Karens. Oh yeah, we got a lot of Karens there. It was so much fun. Oh, it was so much fun dealing with them. But I have a weird attitude towards things, which, again, it's in my video, so if you haven't checked it out, check it in my channel. I think it's the guide on how to speak. Is it the guy on how to speak? What the fuck? Yes, yeah. What the fuck? YouTube, what the fuck? Okay, YouTube is completely frozen on me. Okay, really? Can I please? Yeah, how to speak in 3 somewhat simple steps. So if you want that, I have the video. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called How to Speak in 3 Somewhat Simple Steps, and it's called that. So that is very soft, monotone, and disarming. I physically cannot shout, doing so would cause me damage. So as soon as I spoke to my first job advisor, they paid me for a perfect type person for it. And now I work as a waiter. Happier, honestly. I did not enjoy customer support work. For me, it was fun, because to me it was like a challenge. How do I get this super pissed off person to say thank you? How do I get this super pissed off person to have such a change of heart that they, from the bottom of their heart, with relief and joy in their heart, say thank you at the end of the call? And I would achieve it more often than not. I would do it. I loved it. But yeah, Saint, to your point, this happens a lot. This is what we call a generational shift. That the generation that is right will usually hand over like that. How to speak in 3 simple steps. 1, open mouth. 2, make sound. 3, close mouth. Well, that is how to talk. How to speak is it's a bit more complicated than that. All right, let's continue. Go to our 4th step. Step 0, think what you want to say. And that usually is the difficult part, so let's continue.
For some of them,
Welcome back,
academia
man.
is the only way to get US visa. If you like, yes, what we created is a bubble, but it helps thousands of those guys and their families not to die from hunger.
If you are working as an academic, and I'm not apologizing for pausing. If you are working as an academic, you are living a very cozy life. Like if you're working as an academic. Students in the US have it super fucked up because of the system of student loans. The teachers, usually we have fairly comfortable lives. A job change is never easy, and it's never an easy time. But if you've become so complacent and so accustomed to the point that you will sabotage anyone who will threaten your job because they are right, or because they threaten the principles behind it, yeah, that says more about you than it does about this other person now, does it? Last article where I wasn't able to say anything. They went for 15 minutes while I managed to work in the background. Deferred someone else. As soon as they stopped, as soon as they went, usually sorted. I had a very pleasant talk with you. Nice. Ad break for you? Oh, lovely. Let's continue.
We all do the same stuff and have some trade secrets. For example, I'm one of the authors of the so-called model. Pretty useless stuff, old refurbished with a couple of new blows and whistles. But if people buy this and it helps them to get grants, who cares?
I just need a moment to process that. I am selling something that doesn't work, but people buy it anyway in academia. Who cares? Okay, she's selling something that people are buying, and people might like more than yours, and it might invalidate yours. Who cares? This is not a matter of lack of empathy. This is a matter of corruption. This wording, I've seen a billion times back in Guatemala. I've seen this so much. This is the language of a corrupt person. Of a person trying to protect its own corruption and the corrupt system that it has established. Did I just dehumanize the person in this email? Yes. What's this about exactly? So Sabine Hossenfelder is a professor of physics, published a paper that was calling into question a lot of things in the science community. Probably a lot of the legitimacy, because how, some of the science community have become not that great. And this is the email she received. There's a crush baby under there. Would could get paid and get away with it? Maybe.
For people who pay us, all we do is just noise. They have zero idea that elementary particles exist. They pay us from public funds, not from their own, and basically pay for something cool, some new crazy hype, which they need either to include into their science spending reports or, in case of universities, to attract students.
When is this video from? 1 month ago. So these are public funds, and this is in the US from what I can see. This person is in the US. So you are receiving government funds to make useless studies. And you're admitting that these studies are useless to feed off the ego of a bunch of people. These are unnecessary. These are wasteful spending. This is not made from these grants are not made from tuition or anything like that. Like, this is coming straight from taxpayers' money. The more we are seeing from this person, the less I empathize with this person, the more I empathize with Sabine. And the more I am seeing Sabine as somebody who ended up breaking through and highlighting some corruption.
Paper made a lot of noise and most likely will affect redistribution of HEP funds towards other areas. But I doubt that you'll be able to suggest and implement any organizational changes. Also, any changes of quality criteria which would demonstrate uselessness of somebody's work will have zero chance of approval. I understand that all what I wrote above might sound a bit harsh. Sorry for this. But this is how our society is built, and this is not only a problem in the HEP community, but also exists in all other areas.
So the problem is a bit harsh. This is not harsh. These are not harsh words. These are the words of somebody trying to defend their own corrupt system, admitting that this is not the only system that has been corrupted. Because what she did is she made a paper that ended up disproving and calling into question a bunch of the practices. That's my understanding here. That it ended up potentially compromising a bunch of the practices of other people. And turns out these practices are wasteful spending, and as JP just said, that they're using these grants as a mean for marketing to keep the cost of education high, which is a massive way of, in my opinion, it sounds very scummy. Okay, so this random kid has to take a $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 loan that cannot be defaulted on. This kid has no idea what is going on because this teacher over here has an ego and wants to continue making their useless studies to prevail this corrupt, in my opinion, fraudulent culture of higher education. We were having the discussion the other day with Dunkel how, higher education, I see a lot of it as fraud. You're just defrauding a bunch of 18-year-olds, getting them to sign up to loans that they most likely will not be able to pay off so that you can get a quick buck. You're extracting resources, you're extracting value from the younger generation, taking it away. You are doing something far worse than what the boomers did, in my opinion. You know what this says to me? I hate you so much. I so very much wish you could get away with spitting in your face, but society demands a role, and I will falsify my way. And the thing is, our society, this person is not talking about the city that they live in. This person is not talking about the American way of life. This person is talking about academics and about the academic way of life. That's what this person is talking about. And it's just coming across as very scummy.
My heart is bleeding when I regularly see bright and intelligent persons with independent ways of thinking leaving academia or getting kicked out, whereas obedient idiots remain. But there's nothing we can do. Those who get kicked out usually find better opportunities outside of academia. Those who remain in academia accept the rules and enjoy the comfort of academic life.
What did I just fucking say? I said before, and I stand by it, the US system of higher education is super scummy in the way they operate. They do get some results on how higher education on average, even the bad degrees, gets higher income, but overall it is still much, much worse than the EU higher education that provides similar level of education but does not put students into massive debts. Yeah, I agree. Like, in my opinion, there should be two types of higher education. One, the type that prepares you to a job, and two, the type that gives you education in whatever field you want. There needs to be a clear distinction of this degree will explicitly help you find a job in this industry. And that's what this degree is made to do. Versus this degree will give you knowledge into this field so that you can do whatever you want with that. I think there needs to be a distinction, at least in the US. There needs to be a distinction. And I think the difference is because in Europe and most of the rest of the world, a lot of these institutions are, first of all, publicly funded. So these are taxpayer funded, which means wasting money there, not a great idea. Because at least, I don't know how it is in other countries, but here in Hungary, you can take a degree in whatever field you want in Hungary, no matter if you're a citizen or not. You can come here and you can get your degree paid for by public funds. And in exchange, you have to either stay and work in Hungary in the field, preferably, for 5+ years, or you get 10 years to pay it back. That's how it works in Hungary, which I consider to be the best balance. You know, it's not just, get the degree and then you do whatever you want. It's, okay, you get the degree and after that you're going to pay it back by paying your taxes. Or we give you the bill and you get 10 years to pay it off, which I guess would be you got your degree here in whatever field and you got hired in the US. Fucking great, go to the US and pay it back. I consider that fair. But what that does is that ensures that people, one, have the capacity to pay it back. It incentivizes the government to incentivize the universities to make sure that they are training people and preparing them for a workforce and for the jobs that these degrees will give them. Because if you get a useless degree and then you can't get a job, you can't pay the taxes. Then you get the 10-year bill, you can't pay it back. So what's the fucking point? That's all the money down the drain. Cloak and dagger tactics have never disappeared. It's just evolved alongside politics. I see why people fence it. They end up getting, constant gotcha moments, fishing, constant double words, and it's getting harder not to join them at the fucking grill. It is. And you know, if you ever doubt that cloak and dagger tactics don't work, just look at how the Chinese operate. The Chinese are still operating. There are still operations being carried out by the Chinese that started in the Opium Wars, I'm pretty sure the Chinese are still taking revenge on the Mongols for erasing China 800 years ago. As you have in the EU, majority of the degrees are made for specific jobs/fields rather than pick and choose that in the US. Yeah. In Poland, we have an estimation that enough people stay in Poland that we don't need to institute anything like Hungary does. Same, I think, for most EU countries. People just don't want to stay in Hungary. That is true. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, for example, I'm gonna try not to give myself away too much. I work in financial compliance right now. In the US, in a similar position, depending on the city I were to stay, I would be making anywhere between $50,000 and $90,000 a year, like nearly $100,000 a year, and this is like almost entry-level position that I'm in. In Hungary, I'm making around $20,000 a year. Why am I staying? Because everything else in Hungary, like the cost of living is relatively the same. I'm very comfortable. I'm very happy over here. I really, really love this place. But most other people will see that, right? Most other people, that's what happened when the EU opened its borders to Hungary. Hungary had 15 million people and 5 million people left because a lot of these people saw, shit, you mean that me working as like an advanced degree engineer, working for like super high tech, and I'm making $7 an hour, I could move to Germany and make 12? washing dishes? Fuck yeah, and off they went. Off they went. Now, Hungary is trying to bring back a lot of these stuff. They might bring the euro to try and offset a bunch of these things and try and bring Hungary back to the standard. I don't know if they will. But yeah, a bunch of people didn't want to stay. Hungary is slowly becoming a more worth it place to stay. One, because a lot of the stuff is cheaper for the same standards. And two is because they have reworked a bunch of the public stuff. And I think now that Fidesz is finally the leading party on Orban and everything, they're finally starting to feel a lot more threatened. They're going to start doing a lot more things for the people. But we will see. Like, the tax incentives are nice. I love the tax bracket that I am in. So there's that. Anyway, let's continue watching.
Of course, sometimes there are exceptions, like string theorists Smolin and White, but I doubt you'd like to share their destiny. I'm reading this to you as an illustration, a rare example of somebody else's honest words.
And somebody else's honest words that told her, you either get in line or get out. That's what I'm reading of this email. Get in line or get out. And the fact that she was asked to keep this confidential and she made this video, I like this woman. Because this look over here looks at, or what?
I can't prove to you that this email is real, so you'll have to take my word for it. In contrast to the person who sent this email, I don't think that taxpayers are stupid. We're not paying physicists for crazy new hype. We want to see results.
Yeah.
And soon taxpayers will start asking some tough questions. An example. So they told you that this Dune experiment that's being built from some billions of dollars of public funds at Fermilab will tell us why we exist or why the universe didn't disappear. I regret to inform you that it won't do any such thing. Regardless of what the result of the Dune experiment will be, it'll not tell us why the universe contains more matter than antimatter, because this question is impossible to answer within the context of our current theories.
And besides that, like, it's one thing that science journalism is almost as bad as gaming journalism. They hype up these things to such absurd degrees, and usually, yeah, it makes no sense. I'll say that how the US operates is partly an issue here. A lot of the funding for research is based on hype. 100% correct. Yes. So once again, we go back to things are not that well done in the US, and the US needs to get their shit together, which is kind of what we're seeing. It's just not happening in the way that we want it now, is it?
Matter-antimatter symmetry that Dune is supposedly shedding light on is a pseudo-problem. It's a story that physicists have made up that they're now selling to the public, because they think that once they have the money, it doesn't really matter if they deliver what they promised. Though, to be fair, I think that some of them are honestly confused about what CP violation in the neutrino sector even says about antimatter.
Okay, I want to address that point. That it doesn't matter if they deliver or not. Do you know what we call it? When somebody gets paid to do something and doesn't deliver? Fraud. Terrors will be a disaster and predicting it now. We just addressed that when we covered the Nintendo story. In summary, reciprocal tariffs, this is a hard reset button of the global economy. It's gonna be a wild ride. Disastrous, short term, I think, yeah. But just like with everything else, just like with the pandemic, just like with the Bidenomics and everything else, we will adjust. The world economy will adjust. Those were not reciprocal. Literally, they were. Yes. Anyway, that's not the argument we're making here.
What will the experiment do? It'll measure some properties of neutrinos. What's that good for? It's good for keeping particle physicists employed, because some of them have families, and it'd be unfair if they had to do something useful for their income, wouldn't it? And has anyone even noticed that the US government spent another $2 billion or so on a new particle collider at Brookhaven? Its purpose is to improve measurements of the quark and gluon distribution inside of heavy ions. What's it good for? you're not supposed to ask.
Yeah, what's the point of a particle collider? Or a particle accelerator? Tariffs are based on trade deficit, not reciprocity. Trade deficit based on tariffs, currency manipulations, and other things. Have you ever seen my fantasy of heavy back? No, I have not. I'm Maker and Josh, dude. How you doing? Welcome today. We're reacting to this. But yeah, what do these particle accelerators do? I remember when I was in elementary school that they were hyping this up. What's the point? Why do you need a bigger one? What results does it bring? How is this useful?
Supposed to believe that you're too stupid to understand what it's good for. But let me fill you in. It's good for keeping particle physicists employed. Meanwhile, the Chinese are laughing their asses off that you think it makes your country worth defending. That particle physicists have created these bubbles of useless research is not a problem that can be fixed from inside the community. The only way to fix the problem is to stop paying them. Yeah. I'm afraid that this is exactly what's going to happen. I didn't want this to happen. This is why I wrote my 2017 comment. But at this point, it's too late for them to change anything about it. I've read this email dozens of times, and each time I'm stunned by how condescending it is to all the people who do honest work and whose taxes pay for academic jobs.
You just called academic jobs dishonest. I like this woman.
Makes me sick, and it makes me glad that I no longer have anything to do with this so-called research area that's rotten to the core. If you are one of the many physicists who know full well what nonsense research I'm talking about, but you still keep your mouth shut, if you're one of those who laugh about me because no one believes what I'm saying, if you're one of those who spread lies about me, like that story that I was invited to give a talk at CERN but was afraid to go, did you make that up? I hope it was amusing. But Jesus, use your fucking brain!
Do not censor yourself, woman! Speak freely, god damn it! If you can't say it, I will! You useless fucking retards in academia, what the fuck are you doing? You cannot disprove the claims this woman is making, so you're trying to disprove the woman herself. This is such an old fucking tactic. It's so fucking bad. I'm immediately subscribing to her. Yes. I am so happy that she's standing up to academia in such a way, because academia has been rotten. I saw this many years ago when I lived in Boston. I saw how rotten, like the music academia is. I saw how it was in psychology, the social sciences. It was bad. It was really bad. Part of the reason why I left. Part of the reason why I stopped pursuing. Anecdote time. I went to the Berklee College of Music. I graduated with a degree in music composition in 2018. After that, I was trying to get myself jobs and gigs and enter competitions. The competitions, music composition competitions, about half of them were locked away for women only. Because, you know, women are not capable of competing with men when it comes to composing music, apparently. Of the remaining 50%, about a third of those were made for black-only composers. Because, you know, everyone knows, right? That black people are not capable of competing with white people on music composition. So this was the case for a lot of these things, and a lot of the jobs that I was looking for were locked away for these types of people. And when I asked about it, why are you asking? Are you a bigot? There was no answer other than shut up and stay in line. So I left. And I'm not going back, and I'm not entertaining the academics until they solve this issue. So, yeah. And Saint, yes, I'm really liking her. So yes, we're checking after this. We're checking Weeb Metalhead's video, and then we'll continue. So
Your problem isn't that I'm making noise. Your problem is that you're lying to the people who pay you. Your problem is that you're cowards without a shred of scientific integrity.
Remove the word scientific there. I would apologize for keeping interrupting so much, but I don't want to. This goes to the saying, the lie goes halfway around the world before the truth gets its boots strapped in. But once the truth gets going, there's no stopping it. The truth eventually comes out. And what she's doing, she's bringing the truth out. The sciences have become rotten to the core, and it seems it's going to every field. The academics are rotten and corrupt, and it seems it's going to every field. And we're starting to see this. Because yes, science is about questioning. And the first thing you see when you make this claim that yes, you should question the sciences, the first thing you are brought is flat earthers. You are accused of having the mindset of a flat earther. But you don't address the questions. And she is in a... And the thing is, when they do this from the position of elitism. They are the elites. They are smarter than you, and you're too stupid to ask the questions. Problem is, this woman is high up there as well, and she's asking the questions. What a coincidence. Next video is about the flat earthers. Hell yeah.
Your problem is that every bubble eventually bursts.
Yeah.
By the way, the reason I now call it nonsense research and no longer bullshit research is that YouTube flags the letter as profanity.
Well, it is,
and we
but...
don't want to be profane on this channel. That would be absolutely terrible. All right,
yes!
Let me know what you think about all this in the comments.
Leave the wrong part.
There are many reasons why you might not want other people to get your private information. And yes, I have reasons. This is why I signed up to Incogni, who've been sponsoring this video. You see, each time you open a website, it'll try to collect data about who you are and where you are and what other websites you've visited. If you then sign up for a website and fill in your personal details, they can and often do make money by selling your private information to data brokers. Most countries have laws against that, and you can ask for your data to be removed.
The ads at the end of the
video.
video.
Doing this takes up a lot of time. Incogni automates the process of getting you out of those databases. You sign up and they'll contact the big sinners, request that your personal details be removed. They'll keep on doing that, and if you want, send you updates about the progress they're making. Like this recent one I got that says they've gotten me out of 151 databases and saved me 113 hours of time. I'm glad there's now a simple solution to stop unfriendly people doing nasty things with my personal details. Incogni is super easy to use. You sign up, give them the information they should look for, and they go to work like within a minute basically. I now sleep better at night, and maybe I can help you sleep better too. If you use my code Sabine or the custom link in the info below, you'll get 60% off of Incogni. That's an amazing deal, so go and check this out. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
I like her. If you're losing sleep over your privacy information in random websites, your problem is not with the privacy in the random websites, but I get her point. I really like this video. That was really good. And I'm so happy that she's standing up for the academic, for the people. And here it is. Found this quote about academia. Theories are private property, but truth is common stock, by Charles Caleb Colton. 100% true. It's so true. And I think we were talking about this a while back, how we use the word true in so many ways because we have mixed up the concept of true with the concept of real. So empirical reality versus wisdom truth. Like, not wisdom tooth, wisdom, like truth based on wisdom. Because if I tell you, let's see, if I tell you the wheels of the car that just drove past are made of rubber, that is true. That is empirically true. It is real. But if I tell you Intelligence is knowing tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. That is also true. But I didn't talk about no tomatoes here. There's no tomatoes here in the question. I'm not talking about any real tomatoes. We're talking figuratively. And she speaks truth here. It's insane that it's happening, but yeah, there's no such thing as upending corruption without it violently resisting. And this is the resistance of a very, very corrupt set of institutions. Thank you for the video, man. This was really good. Really good. Really good. Good stuff. Good stuff.